You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, and today authorities arrest a man in connection to a Joplin fire.
And by the time we get done with November and open up December, we're going to talk about the possibility of record high temperatures. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, volunteers need thousands of holiday wreaths to honor fallen heroes at the Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I am Chris Warner. There are some of today's top stories. Joplin police arrest a man suspected of arson. The fire happened at 1101 South Sargent in Joplin. Police say the suspect, Kerry Long, broke into the home, stole property, and set the house on fire. He was arrested on active warrants and is facing charges connected to that fire. More low-income families are eligible for assistance with their heating bills. Federally funded Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program has doubled the income gap and benefit amount for people to receive assistance. In Missouri, the Spire Gas Company is partnering with community action agencies to help customers sign up for the program. The energy provider is hosting in-person sessions and interactive webinars to help customers through the application process. The next one of those is going to be this Thursday at 11 a.m. You can find more information at KOAMNewsNow.com. Missouri officials want to continue having a private company handle phone calls about Joplin's benefits in the state, even though the unemployment rate has returned to pre-pandemic levels. State Department of Labor and Industrial Relations is asking companies to bid on a contract to run a call center that would help officials process unemployment claims. A California company called Protivity has been handling those duties since October of 2020, and it's been paid $18 million. The unemployment rate in Missouri reached as high as 12.5% in April of 2020. Currently, it's down to 3.7%, which is equal to the rate in March of 2020 before the pandemic began. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has appointed a former Topeka hospital executive as the new secretary of the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. Janet Stanek has most recently been director of the State Employee Health Benefits Program. She replaces Dr. Lee Norman, who announced his resignation November 19th. He'd been the health department's top administrator since Kelly took office in January of 2019. Kelly's office says in a news release that Stanek has held healthcare leadership positions in Pennsylvania, New York, and Kansas. Stanek spent 21 years at Stormont Vale Health, Topeka, where she was last chief operating officer and senior vice president. Stanek will serve as acting secretary until the Senate confirms her appointment. City of Pittsburgh hosted its annual Christmas parade. Parade featured floats, marching bands, and dancing groups, and it was back to normal this year after it had to be a drive-through event last year due to the pandemic.
I wanted to come out here tonight to celebrate some Christmas spirit and see some people celebrate the holidays and have some fun.
This is the 42nd year of the parade. Area pets got, goodness, I'm skipping ahead here. Area pets got a chance to tell Santa what they want for Christmas. The big jolly guy was at North Park Mall in Joplin taking pictures with furry friends. If you missed him yesterday, don't worry. He's going to be back again on December 6th and 13th.
Yeah, Santa looked absolutely amused.
He did.
At the
I think he'll be
dog.
more amused, if I go over and tell him what I want for Christmas.
Oh, my goodness.
Which I got a few wishes. But something that we are wishing for is some help from you. As families continue to struggle under the weight of job loss and economic uncertainty, many are faced with food insecurity. As a result, 5 years. 5 years I've said that was going to happen, and it did. Excuse me.
I've done it, man.
As a result, our local food pantries are reporting an increased number of households seeking assistance and stretching their limited resources. Now, to meet the need, Fox 14 and the CW have teamed up with Wesco Home Furnishings for the 18th annual Feed the 4 States. Aside from Wesco, you can drop off your donations at 2 Joplin locations, Phelan Dermatology and Tropical Tan. Let's do it together and feed the 4 states. A California swimming champion known as Mighty Mo is celebrating another mighty accomplishment, her 100th birthday. Maureen Cornfield was greeted with a cake and a piñata at the pool in Glendale, where she still swims almost every weekday. She has 14 world championships and has set 28 world records. She was inducted into the International Swimming Hall of Fame in 2018. Cornfield only started swimming seriously at age 65. What? Yeah, the swimming sensation says if she had any words of inspiration for anyone, it's just to enjoy life. So she picked this up late and became
That's the crazy part
expert.
about the story. Like, you had me from the get-go, and the fact that she's celebrating this great milestone birthday and that she's an accomplished swimmer and she's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then because I'm thinking, oh, she probably started like when she was, 8, 9 years old.
No,
She started at 65.
At 65.
Isn't that something else?
And she became an expert quite
And I love the
rapidly.
fact that Pinata was a whale. I thought that was really cool.
That was
That's such a
awesome.
cool idea.
It's an excellent idea. I can't swim.
Hey, can I put you on the spot real fast?
Sure.
How many times has that happened to you on air?
That's the first time.
Is it
That's why I was saying in 5 years, I've come close
you never forget your first time?
and managed to hold it till a commercial break. But this time I felt it and I was trying
I
and
know
it
you
didn't.
can't.
And I knew it was going to happen. And it finally did.
No, it honestly, it happened to me. I think I'd been going about 20 years. And then the first time it happened, I was just like, I cannot believe I just did that. Because I thought I'd get through my whole life, and then you know what, Chris? You go, you know what? People sneeze. It's okay.
They do. It's just, we're trying to give them information they need for the day.
But
And
don't like I said. I was like, I wonder if that's the first time he's ever sneezed on it. It's
Yeah, that's the first time. It was bound to happen. Finally did.
Right.
Now it's out of the way.
the law of averages says at some point in your life it's going to happen.
There are worse things to do.
Yeah, trust me. Daily Almanac for today would have our average high at 53 degrees. Now, here's the thing. We're already past that. It's going to be so abnormally warm to wrap up the month of November, and let's take advantage of it. Now, with that being said, remember, let's try to avoid any outdoor burning as well because it is going to be windy, and that humidity is going to drop as low as 30-40%. Right now, we're hanging at about 80%, so that's not too bad. And our temperatures ranging anywhere from about 34 to 44. So we only got a little here, there, and everywhere. Now, all the precipitation stays far to our northwest. The Skywatch Storm Tracker, clean and clear as a bell for us. No watches or warnings to worry about. And here's the key factor, the old ridge of the jet stream. When we get the hump right there, what this is going to do is make its way across the Rockies, and once it does, bring us almost record-setting temperatures to begin December. The trough that we see right there through the northeastern portion, now moving east of the Ohio River Valley, they can keep all that rain and snow to themselves because we are going to be dry for the next several days with temperatures up into the mid-60 today and incrementally rising as we head toward the middle of the week. Even though we got a chance for some rain there on Friday and Saturday, you'll notice it's not really a big cold front because we started with our daily almanac and that average high of 53, well, even after the front rolls through, we're still well above it for our first full week of December. Chris?
Not looking too bad. I mean, everything considered, it's a pretty good looking forecast.
Love those overnight lows too.
Oh, I do
Love
too.
those overnight lows.
It's gonna be great while it lasts. Michael, thank you so much. Up next, top scientists in South Africa race to determine if existing vaccines will prove effective against the latest COVID variant. And later, you'll meet an escape artist who can only be described as the GOAT. You know what that means. And we don't mean, oh, this is what happens if I don't read ahead. We don't mean greatest of all time. I was kidding. You don't know what that means.
Who wrote that CG?
I don't know what
Who
that
wrote
means.
that CG?
Somebody.
He's smiling. I can see him right now. He's smiling.
We have a control room camera. One of these days, we're going to have to show you these guys back there because without them, we would not be on the air right now to be able to tell you that one
No,
of
I
them
was
did
I
this.
was actually doing dishes to Band on the Run last night. Not gonna lie to you about that.
It's a good song. You are watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Welcome back. Scientists first identified the Omicron COVID variant in South Africa. Top scientists there are now racing to find out if existing vaccines will stop its spread. CBS's Deborah Patter reports from the city of Durban.
The masks may be back on, but the gloves are off in the global fight to stop the new strain. In just a matter of days, Omicron has become globally recognized and is stalking the world. As of today, a travel ban will prevent most travelers from southern Africa from entering the United States. and restrictions have been renewed for travel from Southern Africa to many European countries. With the variant already confirmed on 5 continents, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is calling for travel bans to be reversed, saying they have no basis in science.
Now, these restrictions are completely unjustified.
But world leaders have committed to slowing the spread while they wait for the science. Because there's a lot we don't know. Omicron is potentially more contagious than previous strains, but its severity is still unclear. It contains about 30 mutations to the spike protein, prompting concerns from some scientists it could be vaccine resistant.
I think there is good reason to be worried. I don't think that means that we're powerless. We need to collect data, we need to investigate and understand this variant.
Scientists won't have those results for at least 10 days, but South African doctors are starting to see an increase in reinfections in people who've already had COVID. While numbers are still low here, Omicron accounts for the more than 2,000 new daily cases in South Africa. Deborah Patter, CBS News, Durban.
The World Health Organization says the emergence of the Omicron variant serves as a reminder that COVID-19 is not done with us just yet. Well, today is a day that Americans come together to give back to their communities. November 30th is the National Day of Giving. The unofficial holiday takes place each year on the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. The participants are people across the U.S. that will be doing what you see here. Volunteering to donate food, clean up communities, or donate blood. You can also donate online to your favorite charity or nonprofit organization. According to the national calendar, National Day of Giving was started back in 2012 as a way to focus on charities and nonprofits after the commercialization seen on Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Chris, as a matter of fact, coming up, we're going to talk to Devin Gorman of the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas. And with this being Giving Day, he's going to tell us about the 31 different organizations. Now, the foundation in and of itself helps more than 100 organizations. But this year, 31 organizations that the Community Foundation is going to do matching funds for.
That's going to, I mean,
it's amazing.
It's great what it has become. It is fantastic what this has become.
And when you run into a foundation that matches that, and because remember, folks, I understand, especially in these economic times that we have, people aren't asking for $100, $200, $300. If they're going to match, if you give $5, $10, or $20, that becomes $10, $20, or $40. I mean, It's amazing. And so, yeah, stay tuned with us. Coming up in the next half hour, we're going to talk to Devin Gorman about that. Here's a live look outside of Television City. We're just about 3 minutes. I had to look at the clock right there. We're 7:15. So we're 3 minutes past sunrise as the glow cloud begins to make its way over the horizon. And just a marvelous start as we sit at 39 degrees right now over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Earlier, we had some temperatures that were close to freezing out to the west and as high as 44 right now in Monette. Let's roll 34 in Pittsburgh and 36 in Miami. So quite a wide variety of temperatures. With the wind now beginning to shift, we haven't seen it turn all the way around, but you'll notice the arrows for the northern and central portion coming in from the north. Now, even with that being said, it really won't slow us down on the thermometer. We're going to start with early morning sunshine. We'll have the clouds move in from the north, but all this rain up there, nah, not even going to play a factor. It's going to skirt right on past us because the jet stream, even though it's coming off the Canadian border, takes all that cold temperature for the upper plains. We will take a little Pacific and get us up into the mid-60s today, if not the 70s by the time we get to the beginning of December. Here's what we're looking at. Thursday, Friday, not only our daily highs, but also those overnight lows, as we've got a chance to set records for both of those days in the beginning of December. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. There's a resident in the city of Clive, Iowa that is now safe at home. But here's the thing. Went missing for more than 4 days last week. Somewhat surprising because it's a particular resident that's very easy to spot. You see, short, has horns, and eats anything. Amanda Rooker with the story.
Clive City Hall is home to an unlikely group of residents, a herd of goats that belongs to the city.
The city of Clive has a herd of goats, 15 of them right now, including one sheep. And what we do, we use them to eat invasive species out of the greenbelt.
During the spring and summer months, Clive's greenbelt goats graze on unwelcome weeds and other invasive plants. And from November through April, you can usually find this unique group of gardeners at City Hall. But this winter, one goat had different plans.
This is Steve. He lives here with the other goats, but he's in the market for some new real estate, and that's gained him some notoriety here in Clive.
Tuesday morning, when the goats were being loaded into their winter enclosure, Steve broke loose. And authorities say he was on the run for 4.5 days and traveled all over town. One Clive resident caught Steve on her Ring camera just outside her house, and another family spotted Steve on their way to Thanksgiving dinner.
I screamed at my husband, "Oh my gosh, it's the missing goat, turn around, turn around." So we turned around and we saw him just staring at us.
Steve then made his way to the car dealership, and his reflection in the window kept him busy. Hall and her family were able to corner him in the parking lot, using a relish tray as bait.
So I had this little carrot and I was like, "Come here, come here."
Hall says she's seen other goats break loose before, but only for a few hours. So when it comes to escape artists, she says Steve is the greatest of all time.
For as long as we've lived here, it's the longest I've seen a goat missing.
Steve was captured Friday afternoon, and authorities say he's now back where he belongs.
He was very sneaky and roaming a lot of territory, but we're happy that we got him back and he's safe.
And how do the other goats feel about Steve's escape?
Oh, Steve seems kind of like a bully. My goodness. We'll be back with this morning's 4-State Hero right after this.
It's time now to honor today's 4-State Hero, Albert Grostefan. Corporal Grostefan served in the Army twice from 1941 to 1945, as well as from 1950 to 1951. During his service, he was stationed in Germany and Korea. We thank you, our 4-State Hero, Corporal Albert Grostefan. Well, each year, volunteers place thousands of holiday wreaths at grave sites at the Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis. But this year, the supply of wreaths is low. So they're asking for the community to help ensure that thousands of fallen heroes are honored this holiday season. Caroline Hecker has the story.
Class of 66.
Al Baker knows the true meaning of sacrifice.
We graduated same year.
A Marine veteran himself, he can show you exactly where several of his high school buddies are laid to rest at Jefferson Barracks.
Some of us came back and some of us didn't, but we never got to, a lot of them we never got to see again, ever.
It's why he's so passionate about helping to lay thousands of wreaths on the graves of these American heroes.
That's why I do it for them, and I owe them that, I think.
Last year, volunteers laid around 15,000 wreaths, a down year largely due to the pandemic. But right now, the number of sponsored wreaths is even lower, around 11,000.
2 years ago, our count was 27,000 approximately, so that's quite a bit lower.
Next Tuesday is the deadline to sponsor a wreath. Just $15 gets one placed at a grave site.
Someday we hope that everyone here will have had an opportunity to have a wreath on their grave.
While the need for wreaths is dire, one thing the group has plenty of is volunteers who will spend hours placing thousands of wreaths at graves just like this one. It's a day of the year volunteers like Baker look forward to every holiday season, serving as an opportunity to mourn friends lost at war.
Over there is no funeral. You have to suck it up and move on. You don't have that opportunity to mourn the loss of them. You have to, because the war doesn't stop because one of your guys is killed.
But more than 50 years later, he's making up for lost time, one wreath at a time.
Lay the wreaths on the grave sites on December the 18th. We got another half hour of news and weather just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, Michael Hayslip sits down for an exclusive interview with Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas to talk about Giving Tuesday and what it means for the local area. And the sex trafficking trial of Jolane Maxwell got underway Monday in New York City. We'll have the details. You're watching KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
4-State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It is currently 7:20 29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. More low-income families are eligible for assistance with their heating bills. The federally funded Low-Income Energy Assistance Program has doubled the income cap and benefit amount for people to receive assistance. In Missouri, Spire Gas Company is partnering with community action agencies to help customers sign up for the program. The energy provider is hosting in-person sessions and interactive webinars to help guide customers through that application process. The next one's this upcoming Thursday, and it'll be at 11 a.m. For more information, you can go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin police arrest a man suspected of arson. The fire happened at 1101 South Sargent in Joplin. Police say the suspect, Gary Long, broke into the home, stole some property, and set the house on fire. He was arrested on active warrants and is facing charges connected to that fire. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has appointed a former Topeka hospital executive as the new secretary of the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. Janet Stanek has most recently been director of the State Employee Health Benefits Program. She replaces Dr. Lee Norman, who announced his resignation on November the 19th. He'd been the health department's top administrator since Kelly took office in January of 2019. Kelly's office says in a news release that Stanek has held healthcare leadership positions in Pennsylvania, New York, and Kansas. Stanek spent 21 years at Stormont Vale Health Topeka, where she was last chief operating officer and senior vice president. Stanek will serve as acting secretary until the Senate confirms her appointment. Federal judge in Missouri is blocking the White House's vaccine mandate on some healthcare workers in nearly a dozen states. Judge issued the order yesterday after attorneys general from 10 states filed lawsuits against the requirement. Missouri's Attorney General's office was the first to file a suit.
The real healthcare workers, the real patients, the real hardworking Americans who just want to live their lives without government overreach, these mandates sound like a good idea. But here in flyover country, we've had enough.
Yesterday's order covers only certain healthcare staff and providers that participate in Medicare and Medicaid in the 10 states that brought the case. Under the mandate, the workers have until December 6th to receive their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. An Altoona, Kansas teacher celebrated a birthday, and it's a pretty big one. Birthday number 90 for Robert Pierce. Of course, a birthday like that calls for a special event, and that's just what happened yesterday. At an assembly, students and staff serenaded Mr. Pierce with a likely loud rendition of Happy Birthday. He also learned that a new greenhouse would be named in his honor. There was, of course, cake and speakers. We want to wish a happy birthday to Mr. Pierce. City of Pittsburgh hosted its annual Christmas parade. The parade featured floats, marching bands, dance groups, and even animals, and it was back to normal this year after being a drive-through style event last year due to the pandemic.
I wanted to come out here tonight to celebrate some Christmas spirit and see some people celebrate the holidays and have some fun.
This is the 42nd year of the parade. Merriam-Webster has picked one word, the one word that it believes represents 2021.
Didn't know this is a story.
It is. Michael is very pleased about this. That word, ready for it? Ready? Everybody ready? It's vaccine.
What?
Vaccine.
What is this you speak of?
I'm not certain, but I swear I've heard it somewhere before. On Monday, the publisher announced vaccine as its official 2021 word of the year. Merriam-Webster says the choice highlights the dual discussion surrounding vaccinations this year, how the COVID-19 vaccine was seen as both a promising medical solution and a source of political argument and division. They note online searches for the definition of vaccine jumped 601% between 2020 and 2021. This is the second year Merriam-Webster has made a coronavirus-influenced pick. Pandemic was its 2020 word of the year.
Chris Warner, you and my incomparable producers, Ron and Carenza, are awesome because I was about to ask you, I wonder what last year's word was because it's called COVID-19 for a reason.
Yeah.
And now that we're 2 years into it, so pandemic was last year and vaccine is this year.
It is this year. So I'm hopeful that next year's word of the year will be something like dog.
That'd be great. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
Dog was Googled a lot.
I hope there's a time where we go back historically and we look at it and we go, oh, yeah, pandemic vaccine.
I remember that. I mean, wait until our grandkids learn about this
Thank
business.
goodness for dogs.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Chris, we're kind of bookended by a high pressure system up to the north and low pressure down to the south. Now, here's the nice thing is that's actually going to drop down to the southeast, and we're going to be able to ride this. This is going to kind of follow that L right there. So any of this rain that we see on the National Skywatch Storm Tracker, not going to affect us. As a matter of fact, we're going to have mostly sunny skies. Gorgeous start outside of Television City as the glow cloud is now well above the horizon now that we're about 22 minutes past sunrise. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline, 39 degrees, perfectly seasonable for this time of year. We've seen anywhere from about, say 34 to 45 as we're kicking out to the east, and Monette and Cassville being some of our warmer spots. Let's roll 36 in Miami and 34 right now in Pittsburgh. Excuse me. Watch the wind arrows begin to shift, but even though it moves in from the north, only going to go 5 to 10 miles per hour and really not going to have much of a bearing temperature-wise. As a matter of fact, just about similar in nature to what we had yesterday. Now, when we look at the jet stream, there's our ridge right there. And as it progresses to the east, going to bring us warm temperatures to the point where we're going to be talking about possible record breakers on December the 2nd and December the 3rd. And not only those daily highs, but also, too, a chance to break what we call the old record high-low during the evening, meaning that low temperature, if it stays around 55, that will be a nighttime record for Thursday and Friday as well. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news and talk about a Giving Tuesday right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM morning news. You know, we've talked about a Toy Box Tuesday. That's happening today, and it's just amazing the way that all of you, all of the 4 states, gives to those in need. And that's why we're fortunate enough to be joined this morning by Devin Gorman. Devin from the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas. Because Devin, while we kick off our Toy Box Tuesday here, you've got a marvelous thing going at the Community Foundation. You have a Giving Tuesday in which, in essence, for all of you that are going to be a part of this, remember, the Community Foundation is going to match whatever you give up to the first $47,000, and it's absolutely amazing. Devin, number one, thank you for your time. Number two, for those people, and there are going to be some newbies here, those of us that have been fortunate enough to be touched by you and your organization, we know what it's about. But how do you describe the mission statement of the Community Foundation?
Well, thank you, Michael, and good morning. The Community Foundation is all about giving back to the community. So we address community needs and help improve the quality of life for those in the Southeast Kansas area. So we're all about trying to do what we can to help community in various forms. And Match Day, which is today, is all about accepting donations and helping grow those endowments for a lot of organizations here who do tremendous work day in and day out to serve our local citizens.
You have that stability of donors that give each and every year that make this foundation sustainable, right?
Yes.
But what we're looking for now, we're trying to reach new people to come into the organization and teach them how important it is. And so if you were to tell somebody, if we can match your dollar, why should they take advantage of this today?
Well, we have 31 organizations participating, Michael. Organizations we've all heard of, we all see here, from Wesley House to the Children's Advocacy Center. And when you make a donation today, National Giving Tuesday, we have $47,000 in matching funds. So we usually exceed that, so our match is in proportion to what these organizations receive. But why not give, if you want to give $20 or $10 now and make that go a little further towards these organizations? There's not a better day to give than on Match Day right now.
Devin, you bring up a great point right there, because if I can afford 10 or 20, my 10 or 20 becomes 20 and then 40. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. You had the opportunity to become a part of the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas, and so it's obviously something that's important to you. In your role, why did you join this organization? What drew you into this?
Sure. So we're celebrating 20 years of the Community Foundation, and the history is just amazing to see the community leaders that came together to establish an organization. And again, it all goes back to addressing community needs and supporting the community. We've given out over $18 million in grants and scholarships since inception. Those go again to organizations that just provide critical services, resources, programs to our community. And that's what we're all about. So these 31 organizations participating today have endowments. And if you're not familiar with an endowment, essentially it's a fund that lasts forever. So the investment income off of that each year can go to this organization. So for the rest of their lifetime, there's a set income stream for them. They budget that, they count on it. So all these donations to help build that, each year it's more and more money that goes to this organization to, again, help them achieve what they want to. So for someone like Wesley House, it's more food, more Christmas baskets, whatever that may be. These funds are critical to them. They count on them, and they really appreciate donations that anyone can make in any amount. So if you can give $5, $10, or $10,000, everything is appreciated.
And not that it may mean that much to John Q. Public at home, but I'll tell you what, folks, from a personal perspective, if Devin Gorman's going to follow it down the road, that means it's going to be for a great cause, and I'm going to follow it down the road as well. Devin, I guess the important thing here is as we get ready to open up Giving Day, Match Day, double your donation day, call it what you want. How do we get in touch with the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas? How do we make this happen? How do we make this successful?
Sure. Thank you, Michael. Our website is southeastkansas.org. So southeastkansas.org. And if you want to go directly there, it's southeastkansas.org/matchday. You log on the website at the top, they're very well labeled and spelled out the 31 organizations that you can make donations to. We actually have 175 funds here, so there's a lot more you can give to. We just have 31 that are participating and eligible for Match Day. So go on there. It's through PayPal. It's secure. If you are familiar with PayPal, you can use a PayPal account, credit card, or if you're more comfortable, you can stop by our office. We're in the Commerce Bank building in downtown Pittsburgh in the lower level, so you can drop off a donation, cash or check. We have a form you can fill out as well, but pretty easy. You just mark which organization and how much, and that's it. And we make the magic happen on our end.
Devin, I greatly appreciate your time, and you know personally the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas is very close, near and dear to the Hayslip heart. And just a friendly reminder, folks, that what Devin's telling us is, it doesn't work. It's not $100,000. 5, 10, and 20 becomes 10, 20, and 40. Devin Gorman, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the opportunity. Nice to talk to you.
It's great to see you, my friend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
There's a lot that we still don't know about the coronavirus variant Omicron. How transmissible is it? What about the severity? How will our vaccines hold up against it? And here's another question. How could it affect the health of our economy? That's what the head of the Federal Reserve is scheduled to talk about today. Britt Conway breaks down what we can expect from his testimony.
All eyes on Omicron.
This variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic.
But when the World Health Organization flagged it as a variant of concern on Friday, Wall Street spun out, selling off stocks and oil, though it regained much of its lost ground Monday. Still, Omicron comes at a precarious time, a holiday shopping season already burdened by supply chain backup. The president hosted the CEOs of major retailers at the White House Monday to talk about tackling the gridlock.
I know how incredibly busy you all are, and heck of a job you're doing to make sure people aren't disappointed.
But economists worry disappointment could be the name of the game if Omicron prolongs the pandemic. The head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, will testify on Capitol Hill this morning, laying out 3 major threats Omicron could pose to the U.S. economy, including the possibility prices could keep rising, job growth could take a hit, and the supply chain crisis could get worse. Writing in prepared remarks, quote, greater concerns about the virus could reduce people's willingness to work in person, which would slow progress in the labor market and intensify supply chain disruptions. But health experts say it could be a couple weeks before we know more about this variant. And no clear-cut answers on Omicron means no clear-cut answers on how it could impact our economy. I'm Britt Conway, reporting.
We'll be right back after this with more, but first we're going to take a look at market prices before the opening bell. I need
10 minutes to the top of the hour on this Tuesday morning. Gorgeous looking start outside of Television City. And now we begin a little bit of a warm up. Still sitting though at 39 degrees over 7th and Rangeline. We've seen temperatures kind of all over the place. A 10-degree difference from what we see out to the west compared to the mid 40s that we already have on the eastern portion of southwest Missouri. That's because our wind shifted out here to the west first, and so that's why it's just a tad bit cooler. But even with the wind now working in from the north, northeast, still not going to have a big drop in temperatures, as we'll be the recipients of some very abnormally warm temperatures for the next several days. All this is going to ride the upper plains, so we don't even have any precipitation. In fact, we're talking about abnormally dry conditions, so elevated fire risk once again. Up into the mid-60s on this Tuesday, a 7-day forecast feeding us great temperatures to wrap up November and get ready for December, to the point where we're talking about possibly breaking records on the 2nd and the 3rd. That would be that 72 on Thursday and that 74 on Friday. The sex trafficking trial of Jolane Maxwell got underway earlier this week in New York. She's accused of recruiting and grooming underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein to abuse. Bradley Blackburn, he's at the federal courthouse in New York City where the trial's being held.
The long-awaited trial of Jolane Maxwell began today in a Manhattan federal court, with prosecutor Laura Pomerantz describing the British socialite as a predator who sexually exploited young girls for her one-time partner, Jeffrey Epstein. During opening statements, Maxwell's attorney pushed back, arguing she's merely a scapegoat for the disgraced financier, who took his own life in 2019 while in federal custody.
She was pulling the strings. She had his money.
Virginia Giuffre says Maxwell recruited her in 2000 to be sexually assaulted by Epstein, though she's not a witness in this case.
Jolane was much more conniving and smart than Epstein ever was.
The indictment charges that Maxwell helped Epstein recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims between 1994 and 2004, some who were as young as 14 years old. The trial is expected to last 6 weeks here inside the federal courthouse. Maxwell has denied all charges and has pleaded not guilty. It's unclear if she'll take the stand in her own defense.
Most defense lawyers would say that Jolane Maxwell, under no circumstances, should testify in this case.
The alleged sex assaults happened at Epstein's New York mansion, his New Mexico ranch, his house in Palm Beach, and Maxwell's home in London. Maxwell's attorneys filed a subpoena for materials from the Epstein Victim Compensations Fund and want to use it at trial. The judge has not ruled on it yet. If convicted, Maxwell could spend the rest of her life in prison. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The judge has not ruled on it yet. Take the stand. It was one of Jeffrey Epstein's longtime pilots who testified about Maxwell's role in managing his household. The trial, of course, will resume today. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. As Omicron is detected in more countries, the World Health Organization is warning that the global risk from the new COVID-19 variant is very high. President Biden called the new strain a cause for concern, but not panic. And citing Omicron, the CDC is strengthening its recommendation on boosters, now saying all eligible adults should get a booster shot. Pennsylvania prosecutors are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to review Bill Cosby's sexual assault case. They want the 84-year-old actor's 2018 conviction restored. They say the state Supreme Court was wrong to overturn it in June on a technicality. Cosby was freed after spending nearly 3 years in prison. Today, Tiger Woods is expected to hold his first news conference since he was seriously injured last February in a California car accident. In a new interview, the golf legend says he will never play golf full-time again after the devastating crash. Now let's check in with Michael for final weather forecast.
Going to be delightful, Chris, as we'll be in the mid-60s today with mostly sunny skies to begin with, little increasing cloud cover as we get into the afternoon, but no precipitation, and it's going to stay dry. Remember, Thursday and Friday, that's where we're eyeballing possible record-breaking highs as we close down November. And man, how is this possible? Tomorrow we get ready to open up December.
It's crazy, and those temperatures certainly don't look like it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Michael, thank you. A zoo in western France this month welcomed a baby newborn pygmy hippo, the mother's third offspring. Lee, the mother, is still protective of her 18-day-old newborn and third baby, Quilla, not letting her out into the natural elements as of yet. Pygmy hippopotamus, an endangered species, resembles the closely related common hippopotamus, but it's much smaller. They are mainly nocturnal, spending the day in water and moving to land at night to feed on leaves, roots, fruits, ferns, and grasses. Pygmy hippos can be found in Western Africa, mainly in Liberia, but also in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast. According to the World Wildlife Fund, deforestation currently is the biggest threat to pygmy hippos. Pygmy hippos, their lifestyle there, being nocturnal, feeding on grasses, stuff like that, that's how I usually am.
You call a pygmy all you want. We just do that because it's smaller than a normal hippo. That thing still run you over in a heartbeat right now.
It's still a big hippo, not as big as
a hippo,
regular hippo, but
a hippo's a hippo. I don't care if you want to put pygmy on the beginning of it or not.
It's a hippo.
All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather and a Toy Box Telethon when we see you at noon.
Looking for a career